Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel for the new ban list discussion that is going to be taking place potentially in July 2021. We got a lot of cards to talk about, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. Keep in mind, these are my predictions, not my wish list, because my wish list would be completely different. But I just want to talk about a lot of the cards and archetypes that are getting more support, meaning that, you know, sometimes people really hate an archetype or like, dude, this archetype is really OP, but you got to realize sometimes when they're going to be supporting with newer content, they usually don't hit things that they want to go ahead and promote, although sometimes they do make a new card that basically replaces the old card for certain archetypes. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop right into it. And these are kind of all over the place because I can't really throw like extra monsters on here. So this is not like limit, ban, and like unlimited or anything like that. This is just like, they're just placeholders for some discussion. So first off, in terms of Drytron, a lot of people want something hit in the deck. And the way I see it is they probably won't be touching that deck at all, as they are coming out with newer support for them. And I don't know if anything would be like directly hit, but they might indirectly hit it by hitting other cards, which is something we'll talk about later down the line. A strange thing in the OCG, because we're also kind of using OCG as kind of a reference here, because the newer OCG list is going to be a little bit different, obviously, from TCG, but they have a newer list where they actually did change Tenki, and this card adds insane consistency for a bunch of different decks. So even if they like change this card to specifically 2, this could be something to take into consideration as well as like a prediction. So like I could see this being to 2, like it doesn't really change things too much. Same thing with Magical Meltdown. If they just put this to 2, or even like 1, or Invocation, just something along the lines of hitting like the Invoked, Dogma, you know, any like little card variant with this, like, you know, mix up, because these are like splash in like a lot of different decks, and to my knowledge there's not newer support coming out for them. So if they hit it, I would not be surprised if just something gets changed, maybe semi-limited or limited. And feel free, by the way, guys, to comment down below what you guys think of the numbers of any of these things that I'm mentioning, but just something could be hit. I'm not saying every single one of these is like the 1 or 2, but if just maybe 2 of these went to 2, or one of them went down to 1 or something could change with this, because again, there's no newer confirmed support that I'm aware of that is going to be supporting like this kind of a playstyle and archetype. In fact, the newest archetype that really seems like it's going to be one of the best decks, which is going to be the Flunder Ease, they basically don't really have any archetype that like really has an insanely like bad matchup, because they play around a lot of mechanics. They don't care about things being banished. They don't even care about the extra deck. They are definitely going to be one of the best decks, and like most of these decks don't even really hurt it too much, I would say. But next up, as far as dinos goes, I've been playing dinos for so long, and like the deck has not been touched in so dang long, and something could be hit. Obviously, Miscellaneousaurus has like an insane effect, but on top of that, like Oviraptor could be hit. I mean, if they just put them to 2, I think that the deck is still playable. The only thing that makes the deck unplayable and like making people not want to play is if this card gets completely banned. But even at 1, the deck is still pretty strong, but you only have access to 1 of them, so you won't be having as much consistency. So if they put this to 1, I really feel like people will be kind of more hesitant on playing that deck. Like, this is so important to dinos. It's like the one thing that makes it still stay alive. But something could be hit with this deck, as again, there's no newer dinosaur support coming out into the game that's specifically for like the dinosaur archetype. There technically are new dinosaurs, but they're not really used. Next up, though, we have Destiny Hero Malicious. This is a card that I've been wanting to go to 3 for so long. When we got the new Nemesis cards, Mally was amazing with being able to spam extra free monsters for Bow of the Goddess. I think Mally could easily go to 3, and I don't think it would be a huge impact on the game. But then I'm also looking at, like, you know, is there more new hero support confirmed coming out in the game? And that's no. So even though I kind of want this card to go to 3, and I've seen a lot of people's other ban list videos talking about Mally going to 3, or even like the hero lives, this could go up to. This wouldn't impact the game. If they were like, you know, multiple hero lives, or put Mally to 3, I don't think heroes would be like the best top tier deck. This card I've wanted to be banned for a long time. A lot of people are discussing and saying that they want this card banned as well. I just don't like it because of the lack of interaction in the game, and on top of that, in terms of like it getting extra support, I think that they just kind of like having those like really random decks that like if people want to play, they'll have it. I don't think it's going to get banned. If it gets limited though, that will significantly make people not want to play the deck. But on top of that, it's just not a fun experience. That's the way I see it, but I don't think they're going to actually ban this. Although I'd be okay with it. We'll talk about Maxx C in a second. As far as prank kids go, you can hit something in the deck. You can even hit the new Link monster, but what is it, Meow Meow, but Print Kids, you can hit a lot of, wait, actually, hold on, I just wanted to mention Print Kids. It's basically Link Monster, or, what is it, the place over here. There's a lot of different things that you can actually, like, hit in the deck. This is just reference, I didn't want to specifically use that card, but this card is absolutely amazing. Just something for Print Kids could potentially be hit, because if they hit, like, all the meta decks and they don't touch Print Kids obviously still going to be very strong. And I still think even if they put some of the cards down to like 2, like what would you even hit in the deck? Because I just feel like that's a deck that I don't really see that much play, but it's still a very, very powerful deck at the end of the day to me. Same thing with Eldritch or Eldritch. I haven't seen the deck as much. I think people are kind of splashing in it, but like a pure Eldritch deck, I haven't seen that in a long time. But then moving on to, actually, I'm going to talk about the Speedroids, but I could see something maybe being hit in this. But in terms of my banlist predictions, yeah, I feel like this could be a card, or they can hit something to like 1 or 2. But I don't think that they will be touching it. That's just my personal thoughts. But as far as Speedroids, I think Terratop could go to multiple. The reason why is there's actually a lot of Speedroids and new Synchro support coming out, and we don't even get some of the stuff until like next year in the TCG. So potentially Speedroid going to multiple for the future stuff that will be coming out over in, like I said, it's like next year, because I don't even know when we're getting the next ban list, so that could be something to talk about. And then the last card I want to mention over here before we go into the cards that are like the Synchros and the other cards that I had down here, Maxx C. Now this is obviously a card that can completely change up and shape up the meta, but if you look at what is going to be in the next best deck, the floodgates, they'll just be like, oh, what, you just went -1, bro. Like, this card is just so good in general, and obviously in the OCG, they've had it for so long, we can't even have 1. So in terms of the TCG, I think just 1 would be interesting, but I feel like Maxx C is like a 3 or 0 of like, you know, usually in the TCG. That's how I kind of feel what they would do with it. But how do you guys feel about Maxx C? I think it does technically keep the game in check, but I think that it would be more balanced if it had an errata where it's like you can't control any special summon monsters if you activate this effect, or just something. Just so it can't be like essentially a floodgate card. But next up, in terms of the extra deck cards, LP or anything Dragon Link, there is new like the Revolver support coming out. So I'm not sure if they would hit Striker Dragon or the Guard Dragon LP. But this would be probably one of the best cards to hit, as there's no new Dragon support. There is new Chaos support confirmed, but we don't even really know what's going to be in there. Could they bring back like the Black and White Dragons? Potentially, if they hit this card and like kill off the Dragon Link variants, because there's so many cards in that archetype that become so good. But again, they are getting new support later down the line, which is more strictly for them than like generic Dragon Link support. So we'll have to wait and see what they do with this, but curious to know your guys' thoughts on this. I could see this getting completely banned, and if they put this to 1, or they put this to 1, you could do a lot of different things to hit that deck. Next up, as far as Zoodiacs go, in the OCG, obviously, they just got that card released, as in is banned for them on the most recent ban list they released. But this card is very good. Obviously, it works really well with AA Zeus specifically. I don't think that they would hit this card, though. A lot of people want this card hit. I mean, I get it, man. This card is super, super annoying to deal with, especially with multiples. I don't think it would be outright banned, maybe limited, but I feel like this is a very, very powerful card at the end of the day. So I could see it getting put to 1. So you don't have to just deal with it again and again, because it's kind of frustrating, right? A lot of people want Colossus back, but there's nothing supporting like Thunder as an archetype that I'm aware of, so it would not make sense. Plus, it kind of hurts most of the meta, because every single deck likes to search. But this is an interesting topic, because if you guys think about it, even though a lot of the meta decks, I would say most of them, I mean, you could splash this and everything, right? But a lot of people aren't even really playing it because, you know, they just don't have room or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, you got to think about the casual base. The casual base of Yu-Gi-Oh! Generally, there's more people. They complain about this card all the dang time. I see people always have the little tag like no dragon. You know, I still see, you know, once in a while I see the no synchros, no XYZ, you know, kind of people. But there's a lot of people that really dislike this card. I think for the casual base, it might make sense. But then I'm also thinking, hey, we could reprint this. The card's still pretty expensive. So they could announce some, here's what they do. They announce it for a reprint. We buy the reprint and then they ban it. That's my predictions with this card. Although, yeah, or you can just hit this, because this is what like really brings it out, right? But then no one would really play this if they hit this. But, you know, if they reprint this and they ban this, and they're like, oh, you can still play it, but let's be realistic here. Next up, this is the thing that would hurt the Flunderies, but there's a lot of, like, Tri-Brigade, and there's other decks that will just, you know, obviously it goes into Barrier Statue. I don't really like playing against Barrier Statue, but then again, that's how a lot of different Yu-Gi-Oh decks play. They're all about, like, stopping your turn 1, like, even being able to play Yu-Gi-Oh at all. And then we have Herald of Arclight, which I don't think they would hit, but like it could be something that would like indirectly hit Drytron and other different deck variants. But there's so many things that really recently came out, like Diviner, that are just so powerful already in the game, but that like use this card, right? But we'll have to wait and see if they decide to hit this. This is a card that's been a hot topic for a really long time. Hockey Fabrics being banned. I could see being banned finally, because you know, it has been there for a really long time. But then I'm also thinking, the Synchro support doesn't come out till like next year, so realistically, if they hit it, they can bring it back when they bring back the Synchros, or they can do something even crazier and just be like, yo, just double Librarian, and then you let the Synchro players just go off like crazy, which this is kind of like my more wild card over here. Like, you know how they brought back Snatch Steal for that format, and they're like, okay, hold on, we'll go ban it again. But things that could come back off of the ban list is kind of what I wanted to talk about now. So first off, I do also want to mention Shadal's. And it has to do with Winda mostly. But then, like, if you ban Winda, like, Shadal's, that's, like, their ace card. But, like, even if you, like, stop the one Winda, right, for whatever reason, they always have Schism, and it always goes right back into Winda, and it's frustrating to deal with. So, I don't see them banning Winda. But to pick up the card at 1 would be a little bit more balanced, I would say, for some decks that can't really deal with it. But it is definitely a card that doesn't allow, you know, the other player to kind of pop off and play. And again, there's a lot of Synchro support coming out, and like, Synchro stuff tends to sell really well. And in terms of like YouTube like views, I think Synchro definitely does a little bit better. So for that reason alone, I could see this card being limited to 1. I don't think it's going to be banned though. But this card won't be banned. I just wanted to mention that because it's like, it happens every single time. Because like, you know how people say, well, you could just deal with Winda and then get over it. But they always have this card, always. All right, so Orcust, I wanted this deck to be like really powerful. Obviously, bringing back the Rusty Bardiche, everyone was super excited. But I'm like, okay, it's not even going to be that good. I tried it. I watched a lot of people play the deck. Even with the new scrap, like Raptor card, it's hard to make Orcust run properly now. Same thing with like Salamangreat. The Salamangreat, they could just have something change. But specifically a Harp Horror to 1, I think it just makes the deck so much better. But then I'm also thinking like, what else is coming out? It's just Scrap Raptor. I'm like, are they going to like reprint Scrap Raptor? Like, there's no like incentive really to get Scrap Raptor because it's just a common anyways. So I feel like that can't really sell a set unless they like come out with some new Orcust stuff or some new, like, there are technically always making new machine cards, so it does kind of work well with different variants. I've seen a lot of weird versions of Orcust, but usually they kind of just flop. They need this card though. If Orcust are going to come back, this card can maybe come back to 1. With Mirage Shalio or Gazelle, something could happen with Salamangreat, and I think they would be a pretty decent like budget deck option for a lot of players. But as far as I'm aware of, there's no new like specific Salamangreat or like fire support that would really make this deck come back. So I don't see this happening, although I think it could be something that wouldn't really make them like the best deck. Like, if they just put one of these to, like, this goes to 2 and then this goes to 1, I don't see the deck being, like, the best deck, because compared to what a lot of the meta decks do these days, it has just been a little bit outclassed, I would say. Just, again, it's just Yu-Gi-Oh! Has gotten really fast. Electromite, do you see Pendulums anymore? There's that new Doremi, there's a lot of other Pendulum stuff comes out, but most of it's, like, so weak that even if this card came back, I don't see even the new Pendulum stuff being, like, the best S-tier deck. We're just going to go back to playing the Magician variant. I mean, this could be a huge card for Pendulums, but there's no huge Pendulum deck that is announced or like support that would be like a new S tier. It's just going to be us playing like Cerberus and like all the other old Pendulum stuff that we've been playing before. So I don't see this coming back, but if Pendulums want to be able to be viable, they need this card for sure. This card, it's like a pointless card at 1 because you can't use anything else except for Sekka's Light. Like, I just don't get this card at all at 1. I could see this being like going to 3, and some decks can make use out of it. There's a lot of monster mashup decks. So like D-Fissure and Macro actually don't hurt the Flunderies at all. These can go to 3, and it does not matter. And then also I wanted to mention, like, this goes back to Pendulums, like, would Kieran really make Magispectors the best deck in the game? I don't think so if this card went back to 1. So I could see it happening just because, again, Pendulum stuff. And then this was more of a wild card. I haven't really seen any, like, Flunderies is like the control, like anti-meta-ish deck, and with skill drain out, I mean, obviously it can't hurt them, but I was just thinking of like what wild card could come back, because sometimes, you know, Konami does that where like there's a card that's been banned for so long and they're just like bringing it back just for that surprise. They haven't done that in a really long time, but I was going through most of the stuff and I'm like, yeah, you know, most of the stuff is banned for reasons and it just can't simply come back. Like I mentioned before, like the Colossus over here. It's just, there's nothing else that's coming out into the game that I'm like, okay, this would be really great for them to promote like their newest style. Oh, well, Gumball Dragon, that card's insane too. But I was thinking maybe Grass, like as a wild card, they could be like Grass at 1, because look at the OCG for Grass. Well, actually, we'll have to actually type it in. If we go to the OCG for Grass, it's... Okay, maybe that was bad. Okay, OCG, they have it at 2, but even if they put it at 1 in the TCG, I don't think people would be playing it. Like, if it was at 3, people would consider it, but that was like the one card that I was like, okay, it's like a unique mechanic that maybe at 1, it would just be like a sat card. Like, you'll be salty if they activate it, but I don't really see anything that's on the ban list that could definitely like have potential to come back other than like maybe that one. But anyways, those are my thoughts on the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list predictions. Maybe we'll do a wish list as well, but these are what I think is going to be like happening in terms of like the next ban list. But anyways, you guys can let me know yours down below. But thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it, and if you are new here and do want to see when the ban list drops, I'll be uploading a video very soon as that gets announced. If you guys want to see it, subscribe, turn on the bell if you're new, and you'll definitely see it when it comes out. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, and I'm signing out. Peace.